Hi there, Internet. My name's Court, and you've got courtside seats for my spoilers review of Wonder Woman. Now, if you haven't seen the movie yet, you should probably click off this video because I am going full spoilers because it's what I'm going to do. That's my Wonder Woman impression. Sorry. Like I said, I already did a spoiler-free review of Wonder Woman. If you want to see that, you can click up there somewhere. So the movie begins in present day, presumably after the events of Batman vs. Superman, and we see Diana at the Louvre in Paris, and she meets with an armored guard who gives her a briefcase. She opens it, and it's the black and white photograph that we saw in Batman vs. Superman of her, Steve Trevor, and their little band of misfits. And as she stares into it, she goes into a bit of a reverie, and then we're transported back in time. So we meet young Diana. She's probably about 7 or 8 years old. She's living on Themyscira, and she's the daughter of Hippolyta, who is the queen of the Amazons, which is a society, an all-female society of warriors. Diana desperately wants to be trained as a warrior, but her mother Hippolyta refuses, telling Diana the story of how the Amazons came to be. So the god Zeus created mankind, and he created them in his image, and they were good, but then his son Ares, the god of war, corrupted them, and war broke out, and the Amazons had to fight and get their own place. So Zeus created Themyscira, a special island just for them where Ares could never find them, after he beat Ares and sent him into submission, I suppose you would say. He also gifted the Amazons a very powerful weapon called the God Killer Sword, should they ever need it again. Secretly, Diana begins training with her aunt Antiope, who is the greatest Amazon warrior. Eventually, Hippolyta finds out about this, but instead of canceling the whole thing, she tells Antiope that you will train her harder than you've trained anybody else ever. And then we get a training montage of Diana getting older, getting stronger. We're gonna need a montage. Eventually, Gal Gadot enters the picture, and we see a sort of final training mission where she's going up straight up against Antiope, who's played by Robin Wright. I should have mentioned that earlier. As the fight comes to blows, Diana, does the whole thing, and it shows how powerful she's gotten. She actually injures Antiope. She's very upset about this. She's very apologetic, and she goes off to have a little bit of introspection on the cliffs where she sees an airplane enter the skies above Themyscira and crash land into the ocean. She jumps in and swims out to the wreckage and pulls a man out of the water, saves him from drowning, pulls him back to the beach, resuscitates him, and we find out he's Steve Trevor. Then he's interrogated by Hippolyta, using the lasso of truth, of course. We find out that he's Steve Trevor, an American military spy who is working underground with the Germans, pretending to be a German soldier, to try and find out what General Ludendorff, played by Danny Huston, was planning. What he's planning is using his underling, a chemist named Dr. Maru, who the Allied forces refer to as Dr. Poison. He has her creating a special kind of mustard gas that will likely change the outcome of the war and completely wipe out the Allied forces. Steve manages to steal Dr. Maru's notebook and escapes in an airplane with the German forces coming after him. They shoot him down, and that leads to his crash landing in the ocean surrounding Themyscira. The Amazons don't trust Steve Trevor at all, but the Germans have followed him into Themyscira, and there's a giant battle where he fights alongside Diana and the Amazons against the German forces. The Amazons do win the battle, however, Antiope is mortally wounded, and I have to say, I hate no scenes. They never work. This movie has a no scene. It's a good one. I got a little choked up. Steve convinces Diana that this is the war to end all wars, and she's convinced that Ares is behind it. So under the cover of night, she steals the God Killer Sword, a shield, the lasso of truth, and the iconic Wonder Woman costume, and plans to leave Themyscira with Steve to go fight the war and destroy Ares. Hippolyta finds them when they're about to leave and begrudgingly gives her blessing to Diana, saying, "I don't think you'll ever come back." When they get to London, Steve delivers the notebook to Sir Patrick Morgan, who is a British military general or political, I don't remember exactly what he is. And this guy is trying to negotiate an armistice with Germany, but Steve believes that if they can use these notes, maybe they can find an antidote to the gas or what have you. Steve and Diana then create a small band of misfit warriors who are friends of Steve's, and they decide to go to the front lines in Belgium to fight the war. They get to Belgium, and they end up in a trench with Allied forces, and basically Diana's just itching to get into the fight. She wants to go and fight the Germans, find Ares, and destroy him. But Steve Trevor tells her that these guys in this trench have been here a year, and they can't make any headway further towards the German lines because the German war machine has the no man's land between them covered way too well. So she drops her robe. We see her in the iconic Wonder Woman costume, and she decides she's going to cross no man's land. She climbs the ladder, and this is such a powerful moment because this is the moment where Diana truly becomes Wonder Woman. And as she's making her way across no man's land, she's getting fired on and just knocking the bullets aside with her gauntlets, and Steve and the rest of the allies realize she's drawing fire. So they all storm into no man's land following her. The music swells. It's such a powerful scene. I'm getting a little bit choked up just thinking about it. They get into the German trench, and her first thing is to destroy, before she fights any Germans, she destroys the machine gun, which I thought was a really, really powerful little image. They take the German trenches and move into a Belgian town that has been taken by German forces. After a really epic battle scene, they manage to get rid of all the Germans, and there's this beautiful little moment where all the Belgian survivors come out of their places with wine and food and music, and everyone's just kind of having a party in the courtyard. And we see Steve and Diana, and they're dancing in the snow, and we realize they're starting to fall in love with each other. It's not really done over the top. It's not super cheesy, which I really, really liked. So the third act begins. They find out that General Ludendorff is planning this gala, and Steve wants to go to this hoping that Ludendorff will actually sort of lead him to the weapons store where they're hiding all of this gas. At this point, Diana is convinced that Ludendorff is in fact Ares, and she attempts to try and kill him, but Steve Trevor stops her. Shortly thereafter, Ludendorff launches some of the gas on the town they had just come from in Belgium, kills everybody. Diana very much blames Steve and sort of walks away. It's pretty heart-wrenching. Eventually, they track Ludendorff to the bunker where all of the gas is being stored, and now it's all being loaded onto a bomber plane for deployment onto the Allied forces, which of course is going to kill everybody. Meanwhile, Diana tracks down Ludendorff. They battle, and she kills him and is totally surprised when the war doesn't end. Maybe he wasn't Ares after all. Sir Patrick Morgan appears and reveals that he is, in fact, Ares and has been pretending to be this British military politician. You know, Ludendorff was the red herring. We find out that he is Ares and is, in fact, her half-brother. And in straight Vader styles, he invites her to join him in destroying the human race together. She pulls the Godkiller sword, tries to impale him on it, and the sword is destroyed. And he reveals to her that she is, in fact, the Godkiller, not the sword. Now, I do want to say one of my big problems with this movie, and I didn't have a lot, the pacing in the third act is pretty slow, but Ares himself, I like David Thewlis as an actor, but his costume, it's all CG or mostly CG. It really does not look good. The whole final battle is very all of these superhero movies that we're seeing these days. You know, it played out a lot like the end of Batman versus Superman, except without Batman and Superman in Doomsday. Anyway, as she's battling Ares, Steve jumps on and hijacks the bomber, and in Dark Knight Rises style, flies it to a safe location, sacrificing his own life to save pretty much the entire world. During the battle with Ares, Diana flashes back on the last thing Steve said to her before he went on his suicide mission, telling her that he does love her, and she embraces the love and manages to destroy Ares. Pretty much where the movie ends. Then there's a little bit back at the Louvre in present time. She's looking at the black and white photograph, and it is, you know, knowing everything that happened, it's pretty heartbreaking. And then there's a little note from Bruce Wayne inside saying, you know, maybe one day you'll tell me your story. That's the movie. And damn if it wasn't a good one. I hope you guys all loved it. That's my review. What did you guys think of Wonder Woman? If you've seen it, what did you think? Did you have problems with it? I'd love to know whatever your thoughts are. Hit the comments below. Let's discuss. If you like this review, please hit like or share it. Totally helps me to build this channel. And if you'd like to subscribe to my channel, you can do so by clicking the Courtshake logo at the bottom right of your screen. Thanks very much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.